come on in, pick a seat, come to the front. We're going to keep this engaging. My name's Rachel Muleman. I've been the host for the last 3 days. If you haven't seen me yet, I look forward to meeting you today on day 3. It's going to be an incredible day full of more fabulous leaders of the health industry who are going to share with us so much knowledge. And I love to start out the morning with so much good stuff. But before we do, I would like to remind you, we have social media, which is a great way to connect. And so if you haven't followed any of our pages yet, I highly recommend find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. We're even on Facebook. And those channels, if you hashtag #Health2Conf, then we'll be able to see your post and share it with others to get some of these more followers and connections to make the best out of this event. So as I said from the get-go, my goal is to make sure you connect with as many professionals in my room as you can. I also want you to learn new information about the health industry that you're in, you're taking part of, and you are creating for our future. At the same time, I want you to have fun. So we're going to start the morning off with a little fun, with a little movement, and the morning panel is actually featuring a variety of distinguished guests who are experts in the field of health, nutrition, fitness, and more. So during this discussion, they're going to share insights to how COVID and this pandemic affected us all, and that means affecting cooking habits, affecting gym access, and physical activity of people in general. Let's put your hands together for Dr. Michael Kagan, the CEO of Reagenics, the moderator for this session, who's going to be in the spotlight of this topic. It's all about modifications in food shopping, fitness habits, and eating patterns during the pandemic and afterwards to create a great lifestyle. Put your hands together. Let's welcome him on stage. He'll bring in his panelists. Come on, Dr. Michael. Well done. Okay. We have microphones coming in just a second. You can start here with the mic, and I'll bring you on for more.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. Who would have believed that from Israel to Dubai would be even possible? So I'm really grateful to the organizers. I'm grateful to the King. I'm grateful to the people of Dubai that we've been given a chance to come here. I presume that everybody here in the room experienced lockdown over the pandemic. I don't think that there was anyone on the planet who didn't experience a lockdown. Is there anyone here who did not experience lockdown, who just went regularly to work? So what's interesting is that before the pandemic, I presume everybody went to work. How many people had ever used Zoom before the pandemic? Anyone use Zoom? Yeah, I had one session on Zoom. It was a bit odd. I used Skype. Do you remember Skype? Anyone remember Skype? Skype's gone. But there was Zoom, but nobody really used it. Sometimes we had international conference calls with Zoom, and look what happened to the world. Everyone went to work, and then everybody had to stay at home, and suddenly there was Zoom. We all had offices, and then we came home after work, and suddenly everything changed, and the whole world started to work from home. And what we want to explore in this session is what effects is having the office move to the house have had on our health, our physical health, our mental health. What effects has it had on our buying habits, on our eating habits? And I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Di Katz to join me in a discussion on this subject that affects us all. Please welcome on stage Dr. Di.
It's nice that, hello. It's Ms. Di Katz, but thank you for that, thank you. Very nice. How exciting.
Hello. Okay, we're live. Go, guys. We're going to have a great conversation. The time's on the clock. If you want time for questions, just finish early, okay?
So we did have a third panelist. He may make it. but he may not. So we're going to start the conversation. And please introduce yourself.
My name is Di Katz. I earned my master's in public health in Tel Aviv University and based my business, Bodyholic, on the model of public health promotion and how to make health literacy and education accessible to everyone.
So and I'd like to just say something about myself. Michael Kagan, I'm the CEO of Reagenics. We utilize the best that nature can give us through plants without growing plants. We grow stem cells. Yesterday there was a lot of talk about human stem cells and animal stem cells. You probably heard of cultured meat. We do what cultured meat does for the animal, we do for the plant. We have large bioreactors, we grow plant biomass and extract from that the goodies that are essential for our health and nutritional value. So, I know we haven't been sitting here in the room for a long time. Nevertheless, how many people this morning went for a run along the promenade? Okay. How many people went to the gym? Oh,
Really?
Congratulations.
Wow.
Now, we're going to...
But I just want to point out that it was only two.
Two people at the
Two,
front,
you
two
are the
people at the front,
stars.
and two more in the back. Out of the hundreds of people in the room right now, we have 4 people who worked out this morning. Now, just think back to when the pandemic hit us. Yes? How many of you went to the gym then? Nobody. Gyms were closed, you couldn't go out in the street. Very difficult to go running, 1 kilometer limit. What we're going to ask of you now is for those who worked out this morning, this will be easy for you, and those who didn't work out this morning, we want to just do some easy stretches. We want you to stand up now, please. Okay? And Dr. D, I can call you Dr. D, will lead us
As a gimmick, you can do that. I still have not earned it. All right, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. The first thing we're gonna do is do that basic Jane Fonda, kind of, who by the way is love Jane Fonda. We're gonna do some Jane Fonda right now. So we're gonna reach one hand over our head and get a nice stretch on, which always seems a little funny, but this is the best stretch. You're right, and be careful not to tear up your tailored suits, right? And now I'm gonna ask you to use the chair, and you can kind of move it back so you've got plenty of room. Just move it back a little, and then you're gonna sit for a minute, and then you're gonna stand back up. And then you're gonna sit, and then you're gonna stand back up. And just make sure that you're driving your heels into the floor, and we're gonna do this for another 5. But I'm not gonna make you really sweat in your tailored suits, I promise. Just 3 more. And squeeze the butt when you go up. We're gonna go for 1 more. Great, and then for one good one, we're gonna spread the legs way out and reach the hands forward, and we're gonna stick the butt back and the hands forward. So you want your back to flatten out as though we're putting like a teacup on our back. Straighten those knees. Now soften the knees and roll up. Don't you feel better? No, seriously, don't you automatically have a smile on your face? Thank you. Thank you for putting us all on the spot.
So well done, everybody. So, hello? Good. So, one of the things that I particularly like to do is to break the rules. And this was an example just now. It's not just the run-of-the-mill panel session. To get everybody to stand up, I think that was great. One of the things that happened during the pandemic is people stopped exercising. What effects does exercise have on the body and on the mind? Okay, we're talking here about mind, body, spirit. The connection between mind, body, spirit. When the body stops moving, tell us a little bit about how does that affect nutrition, How does that affect the mind? We'll leave the spirit. Everyone has their own connection to spirit. But what is the effect of exercise on the well-being of the body?
So on a very technical level, if we don't exercise, then we are increasing the risk for the higher morbidity rate, higher mortality rate, in the same sense that obesity increases it. So it's specific types of cancer, specifically type 2 diabetes. Lack of exercise, by the way, is also linked to higher risk of Alzheimer's disease and early onset dementia. But I want to talk also about that point that we just did where you exercise. Like I said, we talked about this a second ago. You felt a little happier, right? You smiled for a second there, because we didn't just end it at a little bit of a stretch, but we also got our heart rate up a little bit. And it's the release, we didn't get to the release of all the hormones, but we did get our blood pumping a little bit. And it's good to move, and we're born to move. So that's the thing. It's natural for us. We have to remember this. And another thing that happens, and this is physical, of course, is the higher increased risk for mental health issues. So that smile that we just put on our faces by moving, by doing what we are meant to do, it's our natural habitat is movement, will decrease anxiety, depression, and increase your focus also. So that's bringing us to the idea of working from home, getting up, doing that, refocus.
So there was a study done in neighboring country here, Qatar, on the effects of the pandemic on body fat, on eating habits, on shopping habits. It wasn't good. People during the pandemic, working from home, put on more body weight. They ate worse food. There's other studies that have shown actually the opposite, that people were ordering from their supermarkets fresh food and cooking more at home. And so people's health actually increased in some studies. It would be interesting to hear from the crowd, but let's have a discussion first. But I would like to know, during the pandemic, what were your eating habits? Did they improve, or did they lose value because you were ordering or eating fast foods? Now, at the certain points in the pandemic, there wasn't even fast foods available. You could only get fresh food. So people who were used to eating out, how did you manage suddenly having to stay at home and cook? Did you remember how to cook? Did the men cook? Did the women cook? But talk us a little bit about your experience during the pandemic and how you coped nutritionally.
I also want to say that it was very thoughtful of you to bring the two sides of the research. I think also the research shifted, the studies shifted as the pandemic went on. The effects weren't not good in the beginning, and we saw that more and more. And then later people were adjusting more, and the home workouts began, and people weren't feeling well, so they were doing something about it.
Do you remember that clip that went around of somebody, a man in the kitchen putting soap on the floor or oil on the floor and using that as a treadmill?
Oh
that
my
was
God.
a great one.
No, but that's brilliant. Maybe I'll put that in my Bodyholic workout of the day. The thing that, and again, I'm mentioning this even though this is not specifically my field, but because I worked with a lot of people during the pandemic, because my platform is online and it was serving exactly that, a new workout every day and a supportive community. The other thing was also the loneliness that was happening. So I think it's important to bring that up because it is all intertwined. the loneliness and the higher sense of anxiety, which of course is also linked to the pandemic itself, but it's also linked to being cooped up at home. And it's almost like a chain reaction because you're cooped up at home, you're working from home, you're not seeing people, you're not going outside, and then you want to move less. And then you're moving less, and you might be eating more, maybe comfort foods more, and it's like a chain reaction. So, and then you don't want to, and then you're depressed or having anxiety, and you don't feel like moving or doing, or, so yeah, it's this circular effect that I think could have been very harmful. I think a lot of people, though, adjusted to working from home.
One of the things that my company has looked into is something we called PPT, post-pandemic trauma. Not PPT as in PowerPoint, but post-pandemic trauma.
I was thinking posterior pelvic tilt, but okay.
And examining what effects did the pandemic have on us as long term. So I'm not talking about long COVID. I'm talking about the long-term mental and physical effects of this whole episode or whole nightmare that we've been through. But actually, I don't want to continue along this direction. The question that I want to look at is not what was, but what will be. What I'm interested in is we now have all got used to Zoom or what's it called, Meet, yes, M-E-E-T. I like to go beyond Meet. We're all used to that. There are people now who are watching us all over the world. This is a totally new phenomena that has been catalyzed, speeded up by the pandemic, but not caused by the pandemic. This was a trend we've been going through. The idea of working from home was already picking up speed. It just accelerated extraordinarily because of the pandemic. And I want to ask the question, if that is the future, if office buildings are going to remain more empty than full, if a lot of us are going to be home working, what is it that you would suggest that we need to be careful of? What habits not to fall into? How do we maintain our sanity and our health?
This is the topic that I probably deal with the most as a personal trainer and with my business. The issue with working from home the first thing that it brings up for me is that a sedentary lifestyle is defined as being sedentary for 6 hours or more, and then not being physical throughout the rest of your day. So in other words, you're working at your desk, and you're continuously working at your desk, and then you take a break, and you're done with your workday, and you're gonna go sit on the couch. That's what I mean. It's not that you're done with your workday and then you go out for a run and you're going to go do a CrossFit session, and that's very dangerous for our health, physical health. We're not even going to get into mental health from that. That's very dangerous for our health, and like I mentioned before, it's the effects of it are very similar to obesity. So one of the things and another thing I just want to say before I answer is that the borders and limits that we have when we work in an office and then we go home are kind of erased. So when we're working at our kitchen table and we can move our laptop and then work on the couch, and then, we can, sit down on our bed, and you can end up working all day long, and you can also forget to get up. I'm married to a person like that who can easily just not get up 12 hours.
She's not married to me, but
you're one
me
of those
too.
People.
I'm one of them. Like,
and I know a lot of people like that.
how many people here just start work in the morning and don't finish until the evening, even if you're at home? Anybody doesn't get up, doesn't exercise, doesn't stretch? doesn't get a coffee. Whoa,
Wow, we are
very
in a
good.
healthy room. How many people lose track of time while working?
Okay.
So I'm going, and it could end up being for 6 hours. Am I correct? You could be sitting for over an hour. And that's a big issue as well. And so in order for me to also help you focus on your work and get back into that focus mode and protect your health, then I would say, and research backs me up, that the Pomodoro format is the healthiest format, and you can find these timers anywhere for free. It really doesn't matter. It's a very famous model where you are basically getting an alert every 25 minutes, or ideally 20 minutes, and then you stop your work, okay? You can even get on a Zoom meeting, all right, and you're just moving around and, you know, talking it out. Maybe you're gonna go get a coffee. Maybe while you're getting the coffee, you're gonna just do a little bit of a squat and then get back to work. So it's not that I'm taking time away from your work, it's that I'm saying just move while you're working. Of course, I want you to take a little bit of time away. It'll be good for you mentally. But if you're on a roll, and I really, really understand that, then just take your work to a moving environment. And that 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then taking 5 minutes off in intervals throughout the day is actually a lifesaver. And then you're adding minutes onto that workout of the day, right? And you become a much less sedentary person.
Thank you. It's such an irony if you think about it, because when you work away from home, you get to the office, you have traffic if you're driving, or you have to deal with public transport. And I don't know anybody who likes sitting in traffic, except me, because I'm doing my Zoom talks, and the longer it takes to get to my office, the more time I have to work, and not to deal with people who are waiting for me at the office. But there's a great irony here. For many years I thought, wouldn't it be great just to work at home? Like, I don't have to deal with public transport, I don't have to deal with the traffic, I can just stay at home. Well, as long as there's somebody else to look after the kids, to do the washing and the cooking, as long as that's okay and that's taken care of, wouldn't it be great to work at home? But then, the irony is the opposite. Working at home turns out not to be good for us because of the break. Home is home, office is office. And the gap in between is very important for us mentally. To be able to take breaks at work where everybody goes for lunch, and not to say, okay guys, I'm not coming with you for lunch because you know I prefer to work. How many people have ever done that, right? So you're forced to take breaks. You have the, what's it called? The photocopy club, or once we called it a photocopier, right?
The water cooler.
The water cooler, right? Where you meet other people, not through a screen.
Whether you like it or not, right? There are plenty of people who actually want to keep working, but there are distractions that actually force us up and moving, or out of the computer for a moment.
So this is a great paradox in our future. Home or office away from home. There are good things and there are bad things. Going to an office is not necessarily good. You sit in a cubicle, and there's another cubicle, and there's another cubicle, and you are with people but not with people, and people don't actually know who the other people are, and then you feel isolated. Even though you're amongst other people, you feel isolated, whereas at home, you're at home. You know, that's great. I feel great at home. These are things that we've never tackled before. And I'm not the expert to predict how we're going to cope with it. The advantages to a company not to have offices, the money saving, the ecological, environmental savings in working from home are enormous. But the physical, mental, and spiritual burden is going to also be enormous, and we have to figure out how to cope with that.
Right, and it's that's also a very costly issue. So it might actually, you know, it might be smart to pay the rent. And but I do want to say this: that one of the tools to use, but you have to really be disciplined and implement it, is to create the border at home. So if you have a desk where you prefer to work at home, you do not, under any circumstances, work anywhere else. So that desk is work, okay? That's your office.
Are you listening? This is very important.
And then when you go to the couch, you do not, under any circumstances, you don't even bring a Zoom meeting on, even if it's, you know, in your ear and you don't have your laptop.
The couch is for Netflix, right?
The
You go
couch-
from screen to screen.
Personally, the couch is for Netflix. Yeah. but if I'm on a Zoom call, by the way, or a work call, I actually I go out and I'm walking. And I recommend that if you don't need to present anything, of course, that meeting be held while you're walking. You're also probably going to be a lot more focused and clear if you're moving around and getting your blood flowing. So the main thing that I recommend for people who work from home and do have that issue of not breaking away from work is you must adhere to that border. This table is work, and this is not.
That's great advice. The other thing, I mean, the conference here has been split between how to treat people who are not well and between how to stay well. Right? Very much there's a diversity within the conference of these two subjects. There's plenty of doctors on how I treat people with, and there are other people who are how to preventative. What we're going to be facing, what we face every day in our lives, is how to prevent getting sick. But the office out of home and the office in the home is going to present us, and has already presented us, with a whole array of new questions, new challenges, and new solutions. When you're at home, who cooks for you? Or what do you cook? Do you just phone up, get fast food? I've forgotten I saw last night in town they have fast delivery service, begins with a T, I can't remember what it is. In Israel we have ours, in Europe they have theirs. Bolt, right, in Malta. Do you just phone up and get fast food? Or do you phone up and get fresh food and take a break from work and cook fresh food, salads? These are something, I mean, we all know what we should be doing. What I'd like to hear, unless you have something to add, I'd like to hear your views on this, because this is affecting everyone in this room right now.
I have a little something that I want to add because it's overlooked often, and especially with the people I work with. Yes, to all my bodyholic clients, I'm looking at you. The water issue. Also, the coffee cup keeps being refilled, but the water isn't being refilled. And I'm not saying that everyone is like that, but I'm saying that I encounter this very, very often. So in the sense of discussing nutrition also, we have to put the water in because it's an important component it's a crucial component of health. And also, it will keep you more alert and more focused. So if we're looking at how to get your work done in the most efficient and effective way, you also have to keep refilling your water bottle. But,
How much?
So I go by keep sipping it all day, and then when it's empty. but I just spoke to my client, and he has a smart, I don't know if you've heard this, but like I'm also not with it on tech, but there's this smart bottle. Does anybody know about the smart bottle? That it's connected to the phone, and it gives you an alert, and when it's time to drink and when it's time to fill it up. And the literature says 8 ounces, 8 glasses of 8 ounces a day. I honestly, I don't think that's enough, especially for people who do work out. I think that it's very important to just keep refilling, just like you're drinking your coffee, right? And just keep refilling. I don't think 8 glasses is enough.
Yeah, one of the advantages of working at home is that you can go to the toilet as frequently as needed and nobody notices and nobody comments, because drinking so much, for me, it's terrible.
Right. There you go.
I want to, unless there is some, you haven't, I urge you, one of the problems is we went last night into town and there's a large tower there, office building called Gvura. Gvura, I don't know what it means in Arabic, but in Hebrew, it means self-discipline. And working from home requires much more self-discipline. I don't know how many of you have great self-discipline, but the advice that we've just heard is all about self-discipline. This is my work desk, not this. This is my couch, not my work desk. This is my water bottle I should be drinking. This is the food I should be eating. This is the breaks I should be taking. This is requiring much more gvura, self-discipline, than we're used to. When we go to work, self-discipline is usually imposed upon us. Okay? So think about that in your lifestyle, how well disciplined you are to work at home. What about those who are not?
This is a really interesting topic because there are also many studies. Roy Baumeister, who is, I think, the master of willpower and discipline, and if you just look him up, you're going to see amazing, amazing studies.
The name again?
Roy Baumeister. The willpower is a very, very real thing in our brains, and there is something called willpower depletion, and when we practice our sense of discipline and what we can do and what we can't do and what we're avoiding to do, when we practice that throughout the day, it depletes our willpower. And one of the ways I also want to say that in turn, that also decreases our focus. It also affects the food choices and the health choices we're going to make later on in the day when we're completely depleted. So preparation in advance is one of the best things to really counter the willpower depletion. So if I cut up my salad or my vegetables in advance and have it in the fridge, I've got my healthy stuff already there. I don't have to scroll through and decide what I'm going to eat for lunch or anything along those lines. And then just constantly, the cup of coffee has the water next to it, and you have made a decision to combine the two of them. But the thing that I believe is the most powerful in order to, as the antidote to willpower depletion, is support. So you're alone in your apartment or in your house and you're working. Tell people your plan. Share with people your plan. I mean, we've got social media. Talk about it on the story on Instagram and say, hey, this is where I'm going to work. And I'm not going to work there because I'm realizing that I'm just working all day long. And make it something that you are discussing so that it's actually part of your identity and it is part of the way you yourself, this is how you work, this is how you handle yourself. So you don't have to constantly fight and make the decision. So it's much easier to turn that into a habit.
Of course, you're going to have to stop the habit of going on social media when you're at home, which is also an act of will.
Right. Which I told you about this app, where I have an app called App Block, or Block, I don't even know. And I can't go into social media when I'm trying to focus. So, yeah.
Okay. So I want to open it up to, I really want to hear from people how you coped and how you think you're going to cope. And do you have any advice for us on better ways of self-discipline to be able to work from home?
Fantastic.
Do we have the lights on?
That's the invitation to get up to that mic in the middle of the room
Yeah,
and join the
how do you
conversation.
practice it?
You know, remember when they used to say that eating healthy food at home would actually be best for your health? It was quite the opposite during COVID, right?
Yeah.
All right, I see a slow movement to the mic, starting the morning early. Great conversation, really loved it. Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much to both of you. I actually have a question that doesn't have to do with home. I drive all the time. What can I do in the car? I have my water bottle next to me. I have my coffee takeaway cup. I'm holding a steering wheel. I'm going crazy. I'm singing. I'm doing whatever. But what can I do to move my body while I'm in a car? 4 hours a day.
To move your body in the car. Well, first of all, focus on driving. Make sure your eyes are on the road and you're not moving around so much, just because I want you to live a long, healthy, happy life. But you bring me to something that I don't know if you're aware of. You know, I spent the evening with you, and I don't know if you're aware, maybe everybody here who is looking at me, at the fact that there's like little movements that I tend to do. It's also genetic. There are more people who tend to do NEAT, which is the non-exercise activity. So this is NEAT. That's what it is. This is NEAT, things like that, where you're kind of jittery, where a lot of people are like, stop it. but it's actually very healthy for you. It actually ends up being a whole other set of calories that you are burning throughout the day. So there's also that. Like if you're dancing if you're like, you know, listening to Rihanna and you've got your thing going, so that's actually an amazing way to handle that. But if you've got long drives, you have to pull over and you've got to take breaks. You really do. You have to pull over and you have to take breaks. But
Especially if you drink a lot.
exactly. Keep drinking. You won't have a choice. Right.
I would also talk to your boss regularly while you drive.
I'm not going to tell you whose boss. Okay.
I want to hear from people. Please tell us your practices if you work at home or if you work in the office, how you stay fit and how you eat properly. Anybody?
Anybody, I know that if you don't want to talk about what you're doing, maybe what the challenges were, because how to overcome challenges is what they're here to help us do. And there's no doubt the pandemic brought a whole bunch of them. Good morning.
Wait, Rachel, 1 minute. Somebody at the mic.
Yeah,
Please.
good morning, and thank you for the discussion. And everybody or most of us work from home. And I'm from India, I'm Bangalore, and I lead 3 businesses. And my brand name is Business Yogi. So, you know, I come from the context and the, mindset of fit and good health. I wake up at around 4:30. That's my first discipline. And I really appreciate what you are talking about, the discipline. That's exactly the thing. And you need to know where to work at home, the places at home, and where not to work at places at home. Not wherever you want, you take your laptop and that's your office and go around and work, right? When to drink, when not to drink. So that's my first habit, and it starts with meditation, yoga, breathing, everything that goes to up to around 6:37. And then the routine starts from there. And in the evening, I ensure that around 10:30, 11, I go to bed and not at late night work. And and keep your thoughts positive, Keep your thought very engaging. Keep your thought towards your vision. Keep your thoughts and the action towards your mission. And these things are very, very important. And be with the people who gives you energy, and be with the people who can give you energy. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you
Doctor,
so much.
that was really, really wonderful and plugged right into my deepest beliefs. And with that, I also want to say that something to do with self-discipline also, it kind of overrides the struggle. I call it the why factor. There are different ways to look at it. I know that literature calls it different things, but it's the sense of purpose. And I also did research on this during the pandemic. Once, I call it the why factor because I say sit down with a pen, with a piece of paper, and say, why do I want to lead a healthy lifestyle? Okay. And so answer number one would be because I want to look good, okay? A lot of the demographic that I belong to is, women in their late 30s, and, that's very often, why I want to work out, why I want to eat healthy. Okay, so then, but why do I want to look good? Let's go a little deeper. Well, the truth is, I want to be healthy for a long time and, see things. Why? I want to see my daughter get married. And then it goes really, 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 really deep. And then when you can't answer anymore, then that's your why factor. And it's very hard to let that go. Once you have it in front of you, you suddenly have a higher purpose. When you can't answer anymore and it's no longer superficial and you're going really, really deep, then your higher purpose is very clear, and it's like you're hyper-focused every single day. So, yeah, absolutely in line with that.
And in line with that, that's what I would call the mind-body-spirit connection.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Great, another question?
Good morning. Thank you so much for this very interesting fireside chat. As a school doctor, I deal with students starting from foundation stage till year 13, and they come with different kind of complaints, most commonly with headaches. As simple as this might sound, but I don't tackle it because they come requesting, doctor, give me a Panadol, and it's quite common now we have the Panadol medicine. So I don't give the Panadol, I sit them down and I start talking to them. What's wrong? Why do you have the headache? Because I've seen it. Unfortunately, I had students who have been diagnosed with serious diseases ranging from colon cancer to brain tumors just because of headaches, not talking about psychological problems as well. So water, water, water. They laugh. They say, no, doctor, it's just we're drinking water. No, you're not. So I ask them how many bottles of water you're drinking. And I noticed that personally, I don't drink from plastic cups or plastic bottles. I noticed that I drink more water when it's in a glass. It's the taste and the habit. So I believe we need to personalize everyone his preferences and how he can improve his water intake. So I believe water intake is very, very important. And you mentioned something about the working from home versus the working from the office. Personally, I noticed that when I started working from home, I pulled a all-nighter. It was very hectic. The self-discipline of stop working, stop responding to emails, stop doing those reports. When I go to the office, I have this working hours, I finish my work, I go home and rest and eat. Personally, I would prefer to go to the office rather than stay at home. But, circumstances will imply some pressure on you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are a very important person, and what you're doing is so important. Sitting down with your students, because that's when the habits begin. And by the way, I love what you said about the glass, because with a bottle, you can take a little sip and put it aside and kind of forget about it. With the glass, people will tend to drink more and then refill. So that's brilliant. And the fact, I have the chills right now because the fact that you don't just go and give a pill is, you're very, very important. Yeah, way to go, way to go. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome.
It's a lot of my time and effort. People say,
I'm sure.
why are you doing this? Just give them the Panadol. My nurses sometimes, they say, I was like, no, we need to understand what's happening there, especially if it's recurrent, especially if there's a pattern of it. So we need to know what's happening.
You're really doing your job.
Thank
You really are. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Another question?
Yeah, thank you very much for great chat. And then I'm Naoko from Japan, and then I'm running a company for women's health literacy, and then we are providing like physical, like online training for women. And then what I feel very difficult is like how to motivate like women to do like good lifestyle, and also like how let them continue this good lifestyle or good like exercise. So if you have any like idea, it's very appreciated.
Specifically motivating women on a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah,
Did I
right.
get that?
And also continue this lifestyle. Let them continue, keep this lifestyle. Yeah.
To keep it going.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's a really, really good question, and I don't mean to plug this in. I really don't.
Go
Do
plug.
it. Do
I'm
it.
gonna plug. I'm gonna plug.
Plug it.
And I've been really avoiding it. So in 2020, I wrote a book called "Rip It Up for Good." It's a very short, easy read, and the reason I did it was because I became obsessed with how to stay healthy, not get healthy. There are so many books and so much information, so many viewpoints and ideas, and then the question is, how do we stay healthy? And after a lot of research, and I mentioned this earlier, the key seems to be over and over and over and over again, support. Support, support, support. I can't say it enough. There are people, and by the way, this is also myself, I'm like this, where it's almost like my drug. I have to work out. I don't need to talk about it with anyone. I prefer to do it alone in my house. I do it, I kill it, and I'm good to go for the rest of the day. But that is not the norm, and the reaching out. So it's not really even about you getting the support necessarily. You will get the support if you reach out and even offer support to someone else. So it ends up being about you receiving the support, but how do you do it? You can actually reach out, offer support, and that'll end up keeping you accountable. And it's a very, very, very powerful tool. And one more thing regarding women, and this is also true for men, but just statistically speaking, women are higher in this. Careful with your feed. What you see on your Instagram and your TikTok and your Facebook and whatever it is that you're doing, careful with your feed. It can be very dangerous. If you're scrolling and you're looking at people who are very highly filtered and have something that seems unattainable, you're gonna feel burnt out before you even started. How am I even gonna get there? Fill up your social media with positive messages, things that will nourish you, like science-based information, people who are rooting you on, and things like that.
Thank you, everybody, and I
Thank you.
encourage you to look, if you want, at these YouTube channels or whatever. You have exercises
Thank you.
and
Bodyholic, yeah, thank you.
okay, Bodyholic. Everyone, look at Bodyholic.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much,
What a great way
everybody.
to
Have a
end.
good day.
Give him a round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Michael. Thank you, Dr. D. Great tips.
One more thing I want to say. If you have a practice of prayer, yes, make sure you slip into your prayers regularly. No more pandemic. Okay? Wasn't good. We don't want it back.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
We'll take a
Thank you,
picture up
Dr.
here at the
Kagan.
front. got our photographers here. Really insightful information. I don't know if you've seen me going out constantly. I actually drink 3 liters of water a day, so it keeps me constantly going, making my steps to the restroom. It is not easy to achieve, right? But I know how important it is to keep away those headaches. Thank you, guys. Great to have you up on stage. Thanks to start our day 3 morning. You're welcome. Hope you got a snapshot of these guys. If you haven't gotten a chance to meet with them, I know everyone's starting to travel today. #Health2Conf is the hashtag we're using across all social. Follow us, tag the speakers, and start the conversation so that you can get involved in some of these topics there. I'm sure everybody has a story. So I would make a COVID-19 joke, but it would be tasteless, so I'm not going to. No one got that, huh? I'm trying these jokes. You got one? No, it didn't make you laugh yet. Okay, thank you. So I just want to wake you guys up on Sunday morning. It's great to have you here. Great to have everyone online around the world.